Daniels, he's going to keep. He's going to walk into the end zone. Here comes one to the cup. Left-hand layup, good.
Kansas is the 2023 WNIT champions.
This is the Jayhawker Podcast, presented by the University of Kansas Health System.
What's up, Jayhawk Nation? This is Greg Gurley and Wayne Simien here for another edition of the Jayhawker Podcast, brought to you by the University of Kansas Health System and the downtown Hilton President Hotel. Wayne and I are excited to welcome our first guest. We've been trying to corral this guy, one of the most popular guys in Lawrence, been here now in his third year. Coach K, Andy Kotelnicki, has just been a godsend for us on this program. This football program now again in his third year and is just unprecedented offensive numbers. But we're going to get into it with Coach K. Andy, welcome to the Jayhawker Podcast.
Listen, I'm fired up to be here, and I did a quick Google search on most popular podcast before jumping on. I do think maybe after this episode we'll catch Joe Rogan. I feel good.
A lot of clicks. We need it. You bring the noise. You know, we're going to find out. We know what we bring. What does Coach K bring? But man, you've been so good. It's been so fun to get to know you. It's been so fun to watch what you've done with our program, along with all your other coaches. And you know, we've talked a lot about how important it is. We'll kind of go through your background with Coach Leipold. You joined him in 2013 in Wisconsin, Whitewater, kind of from that area. And you've been with him ever since, now 10 years. You followed him to Buffalo. And then like most of the staff at Buffalo, you followed him to Kansas, got your big shot. And, man, have you guys been great. So talk a little bit about your journey with Coach Leipold.
Well, we met. So I was the offensive coordinator at University of Wisconsin, River Falls. And if I'm sure many of our listeners are Chiefs fans, Wisconsin, River Falls was the summer home for the Kansas City Chiefs for many years. And so that's where I played college football. Anyway, I had left after I got done playing and started my coaching career and went back there as the offensive coordinator. And during that time, that's when Coach Leipold got the head job at Wisconsin Whitewater. So we actually got to know each other, coaching against each other in the Wisconsin league up there, the state league for football. Develop the relationship like you do a lot of times when you're coaching in a conference. You know, the coaching world in every sport is pretty small. And we actually had our very first conversation on a bus. I sat down next to him and his wife on a shuttle bus from, where was it? It was Nashville. We were going down to the Opryland. That's where the national convention was. And I sat next to him and I knew who he was. And we had shaken hands and whatever for 30 minutes we talked and kind of developed a relationship. And I had left and went to a Division II school in North Dakota, and he had an opening on staff a couple years into that. And I ended up Wisconsin Whitewater with him, which was a lot of fun. We never lost a game the 2 years I was there, which was a blast. And as you pointed out, then we have an opportunity to go to the University of Buffalo, and we went. And as you noted, you know, it's our 11th year together, which in this profession is a long time. But we've been able to stay both professionally and personally stimulated along the way, because you're making these moves, you're making this jump up, if you will, every time. You know, after about 4 years, when we were at Buffalo, we had a 10-win season, which, you know, pretty unprecedented there. We had a whole lot of players that were leaving, and so the narrative was kind of, well, now you're not going to be any good anymore. And we were able to win, you know, a bowl game the next year and go to another bowl game the year after that, win it, and so we were always able to stay, you know, like hungry with the spots we had. And then the Kansas opportunity came, and it was kind of a no-brainer to come and do this. And, you know, we've enjoyed Lawrence a lot, as you commented, Greg, about just getting to know the people around here. I didn't expect much when we were coming here. I had some preconceived notions, to be fully transparent, about what it was going to be like, because I thought it was going to be similar to maybe taking over at Buffalo. But it wasn't very long in the process that we all kind of learned and discovered what the alumni base, what they're yearning for, how much, you know, this logo, on my shirt here, you can't see it, right? The Jayhawk logo means across the country, and the pride that's involved with it. It was surprising. And so it was, obviously we're internally motivated to do well, but you recognize, man, there's something here that when it wakes up will be pretty special. And it's been cool. We definitely don't feel like we've arrived yet. We've got a long way to go, trying to get better every day. But it's been neat to kind of bring, wake up the echoes, if you will, right, of Jayhawk football and the Jayhawk alumni nation and the fans, and when the booth gets going. I mean, it's pretty cool from when we first got here. So it's been really neat. That's my journey, I guess, with Coach. Like I said, it's been 11 years. It's been fun. We've had a lot of good times.
Yeah, well, it's been cool to hear about that journey specifically with you and Coach. Tell us about your journey from an offensive philosophy standpoint, because Whitewater, Buffalo, Kansas had success at all those stops, but of course those programs are significantly different. The personnel is different. The era, just, in terms of college football and how that's changed in a matter of, 11 years is different. Help us give a better glimpse into your coaching philosophy offensively.
Yeah, that's a great question, and we could be here all day talking about that. But I'll try to summarize the best I can. And I think this is my 18th year of being an offensive coordinator. And to your point, Wayne, things at Whitewater versus Buffalo, the different years that your team changes. And I think when you look at coaching, as a spectrum, and on one spectrum you have, we have a system. Okay, and the players that we recruit and the players we want in our program better fit this system, or else they're not going to work out here. And the other end of the spectrum, you have, I'm talking philosophical spectrum. You said, we have players, and the things that we do schematically need to make sure that they fit what the players' abilities are and limitations. So we've always been able to lean towards our system, and what we run and what we emphasize is going to tailor towards the capabilities and limitations of our players. Now, we still have core understanding of what we want to do, the way that we want to be able to move the football, the kind of, some things that you don't negotiate based off of whoever your players are, principles like ball security, right? Okay. Making sure you're not turning the ball over, right? Things that everyone knows. But how much you emphasize of certain plays, the kind of plays that you run really need to be dictated by the kind of players you have. And I think one of the biggest challenges in coaching, and I've said this before, I think on, maybe in press conferences or if a coaching clinic comes up, I think one of the most important things that a coach can do, and really if you're a teacher, and it's the same thing, really understanding what your players or your students' limitations are and what their capabilities truly are. And so the only way you can really understand those two things is by spending time with them and giving them a lot of reps of doing what they need to do and have the ability to show what they're capable of or show what they're not capable of. And I think as long as you know a player's limitations and you don't put him in a position that they have to do things that their limitations, would require them to do, and avoid those situations, really capitalize the chance to do things that the kids are capable of, and you got a chance, right, to be good. And I think the challenge for us is, as I'm saying all these things, Wayne, because the question about philosophically how it's changed. When we first got here, you got to keep in mind we got here in May, right? It was May.
Yeah, no
so
spring ball.
Football,
yeah,
spring football was over. And so, and this was before the NCAA changed the rules about having a ball in the summertime. So if you can imagine trying to figure out, who a starting quarterback is going to be without ever seeing him throw a football until you get to your first day of fall camp. And, that was one of the challenges unique to here is you had in a hurry, we had to figure out what the capabilities and limitations of the players were. You watch film and you try to do all that sort of stuff, but you really never know until you're in the weeds with the kids. So the philosophy has always grown. It grows. Heck, week to week, it changes. It's an evolving thing. And I always say our playbook is a living document, right? Because it needs to, the same principles were there, again, 17 years ago when I was coordinating for the first time. There's some things there, but it's evolved through all the years, and it has to. Right? That's just competitive athletics.
Well, you talk about evolving and personnel and system and philosophies. You go into the season with a Heisman hopeful in Jalen Daniels, and doesn't play in the first game, plays in those next 3 games, and then you're kind of met with adversity to where you don't have him against Texas. You throw Jason Bean in there. How nice is it to have such a great backup? And then you look at the numbers, against Central Florida, he doesn't throw it much. You just ran it down their throats, 399 yards rushing. So Oklahoma State's looking at you like, okay, they're going to try to run it. And what does he do? 410 passing yards against Oklahoma State. So just talk about the luxury of having such a good backup in Jason Bean.
Well, it's a huge deal. And I've always contested, with people. I said, how many people have the luxury of having two guys who started and won Power 5 football games on their roster at the quarterback position? And we went into the season doing that, and Jason made, in a world where the grass is always greener, in the world of, hey, you know what I mean, time to move on, Jason decided to stay and wanted to help this football team. And I think if you were to ask him, to believe in what we're doing and wanting to be part of the change, knowing that his opportunity would and could come in the way that we are multiple in offense and how the different ways that we could use him. And then gets in this situation where he's starting, half the games right now and playing pretty decent, and I think it's a luxury that most teams would want to have. And I'm really proud of Jason because of his approach to the opportunity in the moment and us not being able to really skip a beat with him at the quarterback spot has really helped us. And as you noted, has the ability to do what's necessary to help us move the ball and score points, right? One week it might be, the run game emphasis and the checks that he might have to make and the option game that's involved with it. And the next week it might be ripping the ball on the field to have over 400 yards thrown. So, again, what's he capable of? What are his limitations? And making the offense work around him is a big deal.
I'm glad that you mentioned that dynamic that we have there. You think about a game like UCF, peel off 400 yards on the ground. A game like at Oklahoma State, air raid, 400 yards in the air. We can do both. Is that more of a game plan that you see opponent by opponent? Is it feel like, hey, man, we got some guys that have a good rhythm. Let's keep going. Like, how do you choose and decide what threat offensively we're really going to anchor down on?
That's a good question. And I think it depends a lot on your opponent that you have, and also depends on your personnel. So how do you match up? I'm not a basketball guy, but I think I understand this analogy. If you got some good big guys,
and they don't speak our language, and I love that he started with big guys. Come on,
that's what I'm saying,
Andy.
right? So I know the audience here, right? If your opponent doesn't have the big guys, you're probably going to be banging the boards down there a little bit, right? So that applies to football as well. That logic, right? And I think what I'm excited about within our offense is that we've shown the ability to have personnel that would exploit either deficiency that a defense might have, right? And so to be able to, we always plan for balance. You never go into a game saying, hey, we're going to run the ball, 75% of the time, or we're going to throw it 75% of the time. We want to make sure that we're staying balanced as an offense and that we're distributing the ball well, because at the end of the day, that's what's the hardest to defend. And as the game progresses, and when you start hitting explosive plays, or the week before it was explosive runs, and last week's it was explosive passes, you can recognize that matchup is what you want to keep exploiting. So it's a little bit of all of what you said, but I think we do value our preparation as an organization. Like we're all about making sure we do a good job of preparing and kind of identifying and having a plan for, hey, what happens if we have to run the ball a bunch in this game? Do we have enough calls? Or we have to throw the ball a bunch in this game? Do we have enough calls? And credit to the kids, we're able to game plan. We have some experience coming back, so you can stack a lot of things on top of each other for our guys and carry maybe a little bit more offense into games than normal.
I want you to comment on a few things. Our administration has brought everybody back on the coaching staff, which rarely happens in big-time college football. You guys have obviously bought in, and Travis and his staff realized how important all of you guys are, and every single one of you. You're signed up through 27, and Coach Leipold the same. And again, how important is it to have that kind of backstop, our Travis and all the people involved to want to bring everybody back, and your longevity with all these guys that came from Buffalo, and you're just comfortable with each other, and it's got to help a huge amount.
Yeah, I think, to your point, when an administration recognizes the importance of what we're doing, and again, value, again, I'm talking to me and I know the other staff, but values you as an individual and collectively as a staff, it's humbling, right? But it's also motivating because you recognize, yeah, there's like we kind of commented when we first got here. There's a lot going on here. There's a whole state and an alumni base that's one of the strongest in the country that's yearning for us to continue to succeed and move the needle forward. And what you had said there, Greg, with, I think one of the things that we're bringing and that we have brought is some consistency. And so that we can speak the same language really quick and get on the same page, and allows you to really, I think, as an individual within the building, I'm talking as a staff now, when there's a lot of trust that's already built, it allows every individual to really thrive in their area, but then also move the needle forward in other areas that you might not think about, right? Like from the recruiting and to infrastructure of a staff to, making sure they're all on the same page, because coach can trust that the D coordinator or the O coordinator or the strength coach or the recruiting coordinator, like, are all speaking the same language. So when they go to their individual departments, you're getting a staff of people on the same page. So when you talk about administration, wanting that and recognizing the importance of it, that's a big deal, because it matters a ton when you're trying to get a whole building of Division I Power 5 football on the same page, which then again goes beyond just our football building and it goes into other parts of athletics. And I really appreciate, I think when you look at, and I don't know this, and you guys can comment better than me, there's been quite a bit of consistency on the basketball staff too. If I know correct, is that right?
Right. Oh, Bill's going in his 21st year, and his assistants have been with him the majority of those years. And then you know it as good as anybody when you're comfortable and your consistency. It's just a lot easier to start with new guys, new players.
And and you have so many more people that are speaking the language and getting everyone pulling the rope, if you will, the same direction.
Right.
So I think that it's probably an understated component of success for a lot of Power 5 athletic teams, ones that have been good.
Earlier in the pod, you had mentioned how good the environment has been at David Booth Kansas Memorial Stadium, how it's been rocking the last several years, and looking forward to a homecoming sellout here against OU in a couple weeks. So Jayhawk Nation, we're going to need you guys to be there to pack the booth. But a lot of that has to do with not just because we're winning, but because we are a fun offensive team to watch. And one of the more enjoyable things that I enjoy watching from your schemes is your pre-snap motion. And so give us a glimpse into the thought behind that. Is it smoke and mirrors? Is it misdirection? Or is it strategic and getting guys in the right position area? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, it's all of those things. So when you're moving around, first of all, I appreciate you saying that, by the way. It's nice. And we do what we're able to do. We do what we do because we have players that are able to buy in and understand the nature of that stuff. Because as simple as it may look sometimes, it's not. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of rehearsal and training that we do to make sure our guys know how to motion and where to motion to and all that sort of stuff. But the reasons that you would do those sort of things is well, one, you might create a personnel matchup that you're looking for. Two, you're looking typically for leverage advantages, right? And maybe in a blocking or a passing scheme. You might be looking for a numbers advantage where you can outnumber somebody on one side or the other. You'd be doing those things to indicate coverages or what a defensive front or structure is going to do. And you might be doing it to simply make sure you're adding a lot of stress to the defensive players because they're making formation checks and adjustments every time. And if you can show them 2 or 3 formations before a ball snapped, that's a lot of communication that they have to do. So those are all things, the reasons that we do it. But again, I'll just reiterate this, a credit to our players because we do that stuff because they're mentally capable of doing it.
Coach Kotelnicki playing chess, not checkers out here. Come on, move the pieces around on the board before we snap it off.
I always love those quarterback shows or whatever when they're going through the call. So I'd like for you, without giving away trade secrets, what's the most, triple Z right, Tonka truck, whatever. What's the longest play call you got without giving something away to all of our opponents that are watching this?
I got to find one here. I'll listen. I got call sheets right here at my feet. I'll find. Give me a second.
Okay.
I got to do one that's older. I got to do one that's.
And then we're going to need you to explain it to us.
Yeah, because we're gonna find out why we play basketball and not football.
Because
so
if you watch
a couple years ago,
if you watch Bill do it or whatever, his plays are like nose,
cheek,
ear, cheek. That's it. So you're going to have something, and I want you to even if you make it up, let's hear it.
We have some calls that are that simple, right? That you could that are one word and mean a lot of things. Okay. And I'm trying to find a good one here for you that's not going to spill any beans, that if maybe an opponent or somebody was watching that they might steal something from it.
Just so the public knows, you're in the headset talking to Jason, correct?
No.
That's only NFL.
That's an NFL thing only.
So
you don't get to do that.
So you're conveying this to a guy.
I convey. Here's how this works. So I'm in the press box and I convey, first of all, the personnel down to Coach Samuel, our receiver coach, and Coach Wallace, our running back coach, and then make sure that we have the right 11 players on the field. And then I convey the play call down to Coach Zabrowski, our quarterback coach, who then signals it in to the quarterback. And an example of one, and I'll just share this with you. This is a couple years ago, and we don't use this much anymore at all. Pistol Z across, twins left weak, fake 8, 700 roll tide H, trash R back double it.
Trash R back double. Okay. Now, kind of break that down for us, if you can.
Well, they'll always start with the play calls. Will always start with a backfield alignment. So where a running back would probably go, and then we tell all the other eligible receivers where to line up. And so there's terms for formations to where to go. And then there will be some sort of shift or motion with it. And then so that would be the next part of it. And then there's going to be the run play or the pass protection part of it next, and then all the pertinent tags that would tell what kind of run scheme adjustment it might be or what kind of pass play it would be.
So like when we're watching a game and like some teams you see hold up like these massive signs with like a station wagon on it, a tree, and like, do we do that?
Well, we do not, although I have in the past. Sometimes those, and depending on who you're playing, those are simply distractions.
Decoys, yeah.
Yep. Sometimes they when we've done in the past, sometimes that one symbol is the formation, another symbol is the play. Sometimes they might be like the tempo at which the coach wants to play, so like for example, we've never done this, but I know some teams would. Like if you see a symbol of like a dollar sign or anything with money on one of the signs, that would mean, hey, we're not going to snap the ball. We're going to go up there and present like a dummy cadence, you know what I mean, and try to get you to jump off sides, and we'll take a look, and then we'll signal on the play that we want to run. So, it's communication, right? So, I mean, we can do almost the entire English language using sign language.
Omaha.
So, yeah, exactly. And when he used to do that, Omaha would mean that snap the ball in the first sound with our guy Peyton Manning. If you ever watch, when he'd go Omaha, and then he'd say set up, and the ball would get snapped. Right. And so that's what it meant for him forever for all those years.
Has there been talk of like being able to communicating with the quarterback? I know they do it in the NFL. What about the college game?
Yeah, that is on the docket, I think, to be discussed.
Come on, rules committee, push that through.
That would make your job a ton easier, right?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I would enjoy that. It'd be great. You can, because when you just think about the little things that you can communicate that the NFL gets to do, from hey, all right, there's 8 seconds left in the half, and you're on the 30-yard line going in, and you maybe want to steal 10 more yards or 5 more yards to maybe make the field goal a little closer. You could just alert to the quarterback and say, hey, listen. We're going to call this play, and if it's not there, throw it out of bounds right away.
Right.
One little reminder like that before you break the huddle, it would be a huge deal. So that's, I think it'd be great, but who knows, right?
In today's technology world, though, it wouldn't be that difficult. It'd be right?
Oh, it'd be falling a bit easy.
Right.
Heck, I just saw a commercial. I was watching one of the games the other day. I forget the university. I think it's Gaudet University, and it's a school for the deaf and hard of hearing, and they have the ability to have the helmet has a little chip in there, so you can see the play, and all the kids can see it, and it's sent in that way. Yeah.
Obviously, on the offense, our skill guys get the bulk of the credit for big time plays and getting it into the touchdown. Hey, tell us a little bit about the fellas in the trenches, the big fellas. Brag on the big fellas. Tell us about Nowitzki, Pooney, and the type of job they've done, and if I remember correctly, I've seen a broadcast or two where they've highlighted those guys and they talk about them working in symphony and unison and just harmony. Tell us about the job they've done this season.
Well, I would tell you, if you want a really good glimpse into what a football team is like, you could look at their evaluate and look at their offensive line and how they handle themselves. That, in my mind, is the most important position group. We set up and organize what we do offensively based off of their capabilities first and foremost, and then the quarterback second, because you can do whatever you want in the backfield, but if your O-line's not able to handle it, then it's not going to be any good. So a credit to those guys. They have done a fantastic job all year of being on the same page. From our center, Mike Nowitzki, to the left guard, Armaj, and then the left tackle, Pooney, and right guard, Michael Ford, and Kobe Baines has been rotating in the right tackle. Kabadu, those 6 guys have played a pretty significant amount of snaps for us up front, and then they're on the same page. And that's hard, you know what I mean, to take those 5 guys and make sure that they know the blocking schemes and where we're going. And we always say it really doesn't matter what we do. It just matters that we're all on the same page, and they're able to communicate and work together. And so when you use, they're orchestrated in almost a symphony-like manner, the way they play together, it's artwork to me. I think it's incredibly important for the success of our football team, how we play in the box on both sides of the ball.
Well, contrary to popular belief, you're on a bye week, and sometimes the NBA All-Star, we see guys go on the Bahamas, or Travis Kelce's at Saturday Night Live after they played last Thursday.
That's where I'm going, Bahamas.
The Bahamas. So what we were talking before we turned on here, and your quote-unquote bye week is not an off week. I mean, you're in the office. You guys will be practicing. Kind of take us through the next 10, 12 days before homecoming when we play Oklahoma.
Yeah, so we're practicing this week, and there's a balancing act of making sure that you continue to develop the players that are playing. You want to take some time to develop the guys maybe who haven't played as much, and so you're spending more attention with them. You want to make sure guys are getting healthy, which is occurring. We had just met this morning as an offensive unit, and I said, our objectives in the bye week here are, 1, to do some good self-scout, evaluating of what we're doing well, what we need to do better at, maybe from a coaching or a technique standpoint. And then you're going to spend some time introduction to Oklahoma, although you don't want to spend too much time on that because that's a long time between, now and next Saturday kickoff. And then I said that it's a challenge for self-discovery this week for everybody. So we have a cut up for all of our players of every play that they've played, and they're going to watch it, and they're going to get back and say, here's a couple things I need to get better at. Here's a couple things I'm doing well. So that's going to happen all this week, and then the rest of most of the staff will be out Thursday and Friday and Saturday recruiting. We'll come back and practice Sunday, and then the next week, and then we're going to go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and we're on it. Big homecoming game, 11 o'clock kickoff. Should be rocking and rolling.
We'll get you out of here with this, Coach. What is or has been your favorite offensive play, not play call, but play that's actually manifested this year? I think about
this year,
Luke Grimm's amazing catch against Illinois before we went into halftime. Of course, Neil Highshaw had some big gashes. Personally, I thought that Mason Fairchild's 2 catches this last weekend were pretty impressive because even though he is a great athlete, but he's not going to blaze past anyone, and it was amazing how he just walked past the defense for those 2 big catches right up the seam. So what's been your favorite offensive play that's manifested up until this point?
That is a hard question to answer. That's basically saying, which of your children are okay? And you can't answer that publicly, even though inside you might have a real answer, but you can't ever share that outside, Any one of them that have worked. I like all of them. I am passionate about what we do here. And I appreciate good football, and so when they execute, kind of exactly like we want, all the examples you gave are ones that would come top of mind too, are good, and they're fun as a teacher and a coach, and say, hey, listen, when we line up and do this, if you do just this, they're going to react like this, and this is what's going to happen. And that's rewarding when you can, what I mean? Like you can say, hey, listen, this is how it's going to work, and it works out that way, and everyone's pretty happy. But I can't pick one, Wayne. I can't. I'm sorry. That's a bad answer, I know. But if it's a touchdown, I'm usually happy.
Well, our guest today has been Coach K, a future politician. With that answer, that was
That's a father answer. I get
it was
that.
a father
I
answer.
did not know that it
I
was,
love all my
that near and dear to
receivers.
him. So I get it. I get it. That's fair. We'll allow that because he gave the father
when Devin
analogy.
scores, I'm happy. When Daniel scores, I'm happy. When Grim scores, I'm happy. When Mason scores,
I get it. I mean,
yeah.
we're both
I
right.
can't.
You're going to be a good politician. You're a great offensive coordinator. We're not arguing with you. That was the right answer. We all got kids, and it was a great analogy. I might tell you, but I'm not going to say it on this deal. But hey, man, I appreciate your time, and I know it's a busy week on, again, your quote-unquote bye week, but you're going to be on the road, spend some time with your family this weekend, I hope, and get back on the gridiron next Saturday. And like you said, I mean, you and your coaches and the kids get so much more out of it when that booth is packed. And that first year was tough. I mean, you didn't have a spring practice. You had to go in kind of blind, and sometimes the crowds were bad. And then, but that second year, starting out 5-0, had to have just been so fun, and right back at it again at 5-2 after the loss last week. But so many good things more than halfway through the year, and just excited about the finish.
We are too, man. We're fired up to finish the season out the right way. You're absolutely right. Let's pack that booth, man, on next Saturday. It'll be rocking.
All right, man. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to seeing you again. One of the really, really good guys in the Kansas Athletic Department. Coach K, appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys. You're the best.
Rock chalk.
Rock chalk.
Well, this is the Jayhawker Podcast, brought to you by the University of Kansas Health Systems and the President Hilton Hotel, downtown Kansas City. Downtown by the Power and Light T-Mobile Center, Wichita State game December 30th. Concerts, Big 12 tournament.
Big 12 tournament times 2, and I was reminded last week because, well, not just extra day, but historically, right, it's been the men and the women's tournament on the same kind of weekend, Wednesday through Saturday, and now it's split. We've got the women's Big 12 tournament the week before, men's the week after, so you get double the opportunity to drop down on Phillips Strenade and have a great stay there at the President Hotel. I'm actually excited. More basketball, more teams, more basketball, more games. That'll be a good event.
Well, we're going to take a quick break. We come back, we're going to be joined by another Kansas legend, Chandler Gibbens.
On a hot streak.
Hot streak, senior. Will join us here on the Jayhawker Podcast, brought to you by the University of Kansas Health System.
I had this patient. His cancer treatment had him in the hospital for a while. One day, he was telling me about his grandson and how a big night was coming up for him. So we arranged to make it a big night for my patient too. I sometimes wonder if I'm doing all I can. Then I help make a moment like this possible, and I know I am.
Welcome back to the Jayhawker Podcast, brought to you by the University of Kansas Health System. I am Greg Gurley, along with Wayne Simien, and we are joined by one of the best athletes in all of Kansas athletics, Chandler Gibbens, a stud cross-country runner, Division I Athlete of the Week, earlier this month as named by the U.S. Track and Field and Cross Country Association. Please welcome Mr. Chandler Gibbens to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
You know, we look at some of your accolades. Broke Jim Ryun's 5K school record earlier this year. How about that? Just talk about how that feels to break. I mean, that's obviously a long-standing record and an iconic Kansas Jayhawk.
Yeah. I mean, it was awesome. To look back on not only him, but all the other amazing runners who have come through, and to be able to kind of put my stamp on, the record book and the program was really, really neat. And I got to talk to him briefly at the Kansas Relays a couple of weeks after I broke the record. And, he was just really excited for me. And, it was really, really awesome.
It's such an incredible resume you're putting together, especially this fall, being two-time Big 12 Runner of the Week. And when you have a PR like you had earlier this season, or you break a record, a long-standing record like Jim Ryun, when you start the race, are you initially thinking like, okay, hey, I'm feeling good enough. I've had a good enough week of preparation. I feel like I can break a record. I can PR. Or is it as the race progresses, you start to build confidence and kind of get a feel for things like, man, this could be a special day for me?
Yeah, I think it's more heading into it, you feel ready because of the preparation that you've had, especially on the track, breaking the 5K record. It was more of, I felt that I was ready to compete against a lot of the best guys who were at that meet. And they were all guys who had run well under, 1340 or under 1330. And so just knowing that I was ready to go race against them really gave me confidence. And then as the race unfolds, you can kind of just feel that, it's an exciting day. And, as you get closer to the finish line and you're further up in the pack and, you have your mind on winning, it just gets more and more exciting and you just want to get there first even more.
Let's talk a little bit about where you're from. As a Kansas Jayhawk, you're from Columbia, Missouri. Did you grow up a Missouri fan and they just didn't recruit you? Your parents, where did they go? And then how did you leave Columbia, Missouri to get to Lawrence, Kansas? And how is that viewed when you go back home for Christmas?
Yeah, I was born in Columbia, raised in Columbia. Both my parents went to Mizzou. They met there. My sister went to Mizzou. So I was raised a big Mizzou fan. They like to bring out the pictures of me in all the Mizzou stuff from my early years. And I say, everyone's allowed to make mistakes, but yeah, I was a big Mizzou fan, and coming through the recruiting process, a handful of schools were kind of seriously looking at me, and I got a call from Coach Witt here at KU, and I picked up, and he gave me his spiel, and I thought, well, I'll talk to him. It's fine. I'm not going to go there. I don't want to go to KU. And then, he invited me on a visit, and I said, okay, well, I'll go on the visit. It'll be a cool experience. And then I came here and ended up loving it. And, I still love Columbia, but, my allegiances have changed for sure. And yeah, I mean, my family has been really supportive of me being here. There's no real bad blood, just a little bit of trash talking every now and then.
When they come to a meet, will they wear like a KU shirt, but like a gray one, or will they wear like where they go like blue and red?
Yeah, my sister gave me a Kansas shirt that was black and gold once, trying to get me to wear that, and I said I'm not going to wear that, but you can.
I had a kid. Yeah.
But my dad was a pretty big holdout, but he's got his set of KU cross country and track stuff now, so that's what he wears. And the rest of the family, they say that they'll support KU track, KU cross country, but it's not going to expand beyond there.
Oh, that's such a great and cool dynamic, and I like how you came here on a visit pretty casually, maybe not all that interested, and then got hooked. And there's another Jayhawk with a similar background, Christian Brown, and his family having deep Missouri ties, and needless to say, it worked out pretty well for him. And so it'll be good to see you continue to have an immense amount of success here as a Jayhawk, and not have to take that family banter nearly as much because your resume speaks for itself. And you mentioned Coach Witt a little bit earlier, and obviously you've been here for a while in your senior season, and talk a little bit about the development that the coaching staff, he and Coach Stanley Redwine as well, from a track and field perspective, have helped shape and develop you as a runner, especially to have your most productive years here in your senior season.
Yeah. I mean, Coach Witt is the main coach that I work with most of the time, and he and I, throughout the past 5 or 4 years, have just developed a really great relationship. And it's rare that he and I won't be on the same page, and we trust each other with everything. And we'll bounce ideas off of each other for race plan. And, he gives me a lot of confidence heading into these big races. I remember specifically my last workout before the Stanford meet where I went on and PR'd by 30 seconds. He stopped me after the workout and just told me, if anybody is ready to run a big race, it's going to be you. And, he's just great about giving me that confidence and, helping me to see myself being successful. And Coach Redwine is the same way. He's always, pushing us and excited, for us when we're successful. And, he's willing to say stuff if we're not successful. So both of them have been great. And just from a technical side, you see the changes in my performances over the last 4 years. You see how much it's paying off being under them and getting coached by them. They know what they're doing. And so I really couldn't be more grateful to have ended up with them and two guys who really know what they're doing.
For the novice track and field and cross country guy like myself and probably some of our listeners, take us through what the season is like in the fall and then as you move forward.
Yeah, so we started off the fall. I didn't race the first couple of meets just because my season in the spring had run a little bit later than some of the other guys on the team. And I just felt like I needed a little bit more time to get fully into shape and ready to race. I guess there's a difference between being able to race and just being able to run fast. Just adding that competitive aspect of running. And so I held out and then opened up my season a couple weeks ago at Notre Dame and really got to compete, which was the big thing. And then moving forward, we just had a meet last weekend, the pre-national invitation out in Virginia. And that's kind of it for the regular season. And we'll start going into the postseason meets now and go race up in Ames for the conference championships, which should be a lot of fun. There's a lot of really good teams in the Big 12. Oklahoma State, Iowa State, BYU, and Texas are all really strong teams. And so getting the chance to race against them, in the conference championship is a lot of fun. And then we'll head on to regionals where, you qualify for nationals out of there. And nationals is one meet out in Virginia in the middle of November.
How does your mindset change as it transitions from, I guess, quote unquote, the regular season, and now you're getting into kind of some postseason Big 12 national type meets? Is this something that, hey, I want to enter into this feeling really free and relaxed, or do you come with an extra edge of competitiveness or focus? How does that change as you progress later into the cross country season?
I would say it definitely, you have a different edge going into, this next meet, especially. My big shift that I had last spring was following the indoor conference championships. I was, really disappointed with my performance, and I said to myself that I didn't want to finish, behind anyone in the next conference championships. And so that's what I set out to do, and that was what I accomplished. And so, having that same focus right now heading into this meet has been kind of my goal, to just think about, what I'm going to do to win this next meet, win this next race. And then, after that, it's 1 week at a time, and go out and, accomplish the job at regionals and, book my ticket. And then from there, it's, the ultimate level of focus where, that's the pinnacle of the season. That's the last race. And so you want to go out and do what you can at nationals.
So, yeah, you mentioned the fall, then into the spring, and kind of talk about personally, like what your major is. Are you going to graduate in the springtime? And then what does the future hold for Chandler Gibbens?
Yeah, so I graduated last spring with a double major in political science and accounting. So this year I'm in the Master's of Accounting program here. And I'll finish that up in the start of April. And so for about 2 months, my focus will just purely be on track, which I think is a really cool aspect of the program here at KU. But the reason we do that is the last month or month and a half of classes are really spent studying for the CPA exam. And so that's kind of my professional aspiration after, I graduate, is to take the CPA exam. And I have a job lined up for next year in Chicago with one of the accounting firms there. So
excellent.
I
Man.
feel like I accomplished nothing. Already graduated.
That was
masters.
great. It was great to be able to hear you excelling, in the field of competition, but also in the classroom, and exciting to see that you're going to represent the University of Kansas well in the professional sector, which is really, really impressive. And this is a special shout-out question to our producer, behind-the-scenes guy, Ben Messner, whose daughter is actually getting ready to compete in her 8th grader junior high state cross-country championship. For all the young listeners, the young runners out there, what is the best piece of advice that Chandler Gibbens can give to these aspiring young athletes out there?
I mean, the thing is, there's a lot of tips and tricks that people can try and give, but really it just boils down to how consistent you are, and how willing you are to be disciplined and get your work done. There's the really interesting thing about cross country and track is there's not some little technique thing that you can learn where it's that it's gonna cut minutes off of your time or anything. There's tips and tricks with a lot of other sports where someone who's maybe an amateur or just getting started can make a big improvement. But really the biggest thing is showing up and getting your work done every day, and being dedicated enough to see every day as an opportunity to get better. There's a ton of small things that can add up across your day where, if you're not getting your sleep that you need to get, you're not getting your recovery done, whether that's rolling out, you're doing Normatec, you're taking an ice bath, you're, doing anything that might facilitate recovery for you. And then, the biggest thing is getting your run in every day. And, I said it a second ago, just seeing every day as an opportunity to go get better, because, that's all you can do. The only way you can look at it is, how am I going to continue to improve myself? It's a very individually driven sport. So you really have to see it as what can I do for myself? And therefore it's going to help the team, because they're going to have an individual who's stronger.
That's great advice, and it's that way in every sport. It's repetition, right? And you just said, hey, just have a plan and stick to it every day. And
consistency,
and repeat,
discipline.
Wash, rinse, repeat, right?
Yeah. And when I say, there's other tips and tricks in other sports, that's not to undermine anything that anyone else does, because everyone at this level is going to say, you got to show up every day.
Right.
I just think it's really unique that running is, there's really one thing that you can do to get better, and it's running.
Right.
And I'm looking back to our producer, Ben, gave it the thumbs up on that nice commentary and words of advice, and we're going to expect a big performance out of his daughter this weekend. And then we'll pass the information along to you, because you might have coaching in your future, depending on how she does.
Yeah, how about that?
Well, Chandler,
good luck to her this weekend.
Well, Chandler, we appreciate your time. Wish you nothing but the best the rest of the way in the fall, into the spring, getting his master's in accounting. I mean, guy's a hustler. No time to sleep.
Maybe could run for president, too, with the double major poli-sci.
There you go. But again, hey, appreciate us getting a Tiger out of Tiger country, turning them into a lifelong Jayhawk. Now your goal should be go back to Columbia and do a little more conversions. Get some more people to see the light, get rid of that horrible combination of black and gold. Teach them how to actually spell their state correctly. There's no Z in Missouri, but they don't even spell their state correct. So continue to do the work wearing a red shirt, a blue shirt, go back to Columbia Thanksgiving, Christmas, and spread the word and rock chalk.
You know I will.
All right, that was Chandler Gibbens, your Division I track athlete of the week, breaking Jim Ryun's record, all kinds of accolades, and there's only more to come.
Just getting started.
My personal cross-country story was brief in order to get into shape at Shawnee Mission South for freshman basketball.
Yeah, how'd that work out for you?
I joined the cross-country team. First day, they're like, all right, let's go do a warm-up, 2.5 miles, Shawnee Mission South, like basically run a circle around down Knoll to 103rd and back up Lamar or whatever. And I was like, what? This is a 2.5-mile warm-up? And we would go and see a buddy, and they'd give us a ride. And so we cheated on running, which is the entire sport. And the coach eventually discovered that we weren't running like we were supposed to. So we were asked to leave the team very politely, and I did not get a letter or anything in cross country. So
I had to find a different way to get in shape for basketball season.
We figured it out. But what a good show today. Andy Kotelnicki, Chandler Gibbens, bye week for football, but the rest of the world doesn't stop. I mean, there's track meets, golf matches, volleyball matches. Volleyball swept, was it Oklahoma last week?
Yeah.
So they're now, what are they ranked? I want to say 14th.
Yeah,
Is
on
that
pace
correct?
to potentially host for the NCAA tournament.
So,
Ray Bouchard and that group continue to excel in conference play.
Basketball, not a lot going on. Kind of the dog days of practice. Had late night a couple of weeks ago that went average to below average.
Dog days with the side of number one preseason ranking, with the side of preseason Big 12 Player of the Year, and a couple other names mentioned in there. So I guess if you call that a side in the preseason of Kansas basketball, that's pretty decent. I know a lot of other programs would get pretty excited about that, but if you want to gloss over it, okay.
Okay, well, I appreciate you calling me out. You and I were present yesterday for they had a scrimmage where they bring officials in, and it was fine. You know, it wasn't. It was this. You know, it was kind of coincidence with the preseason number one. Fran Fraschilla is there. We got all these different NBA guys there, and you know, it was good. I wouldn't say, I'd go one way or another, but obviously things to improve on. But preseason number one, you can't do much better than that, right?
Yeah, and it's early, and a lot of times what that does is heap an enormous amount of expectation, not just on the season outcome, but on practice leading up to it. And so rightfully so, it kind of leads coach into sometimes cracking a heavier whip on those guys just to make sure that maybe they don't feel themselves a little bit or read their own press or buy into those type of things. Keep them hungry and keep them working.
We're 11 days away from our first game, the fundraiser that will be in Champaign, Illinois, sold out State Farm Arena. The Jayhawks will take on the Illini, and with the kick time coming out yesterday, 11 a.m., I believe we're going to get to watch at least the first half, maybe 3/4, and we'll hop on a bird and fly to Champaign and get ready to play at 5 o'clock on the 29th against Brad Underwood and his Illini. So we'll find out a lot then. And it's great because we've never had a road exhibition game, to my knowledge, and especially one like this. So I'm looking forward to it. It's for a great cause. We're going to find out what we got against real guys, and then we'll come back and have another exhibition game before we go at it for real. So it's sneaking up on us. Our lives are, I wouldn't say almost over, but we get much more busy when you take football, basketball, and everything else that we do. So, but I'm not complaining. It's a fun busy.
The sports equinox.
Yes. We'll travel. Got Chicago. We got Honolulu. We got Bloomington. So we got quite a trek here, but again, Oklahoma comes to town, top 5 ranked, undefeated Oklahoma after knocking off Texas. So every opportunity to shock the world. Homecoming, the boot's going to be packed.
Come on, Rob Thompson, KU
Philadelphia.
baseball, Philadelphia Philly manager out there. So if you're looking for a team to hitch your wagon to on the ALCS, or is it ALCS? NL. Yeah, NLCS, man. Go ahead and cheer for the Phillies. Cheer for Jayhawk.
Heck yeah, they're bombing it, bashing it. home runs, and so it was fun to watch that. But Rob Thompson, long time with the New York Yankees, finally got his shot at managing. World Series appearance last year, ends up losing, but
We had him on.
Circle
back. Have a listen to that.
yeah, Rob Thompson, great Jayhawk, and he had a really cool story because he had absolutely no Kansas ties. He was from California or somewhere. Didn't have anything to do with Kansas, and somebody goes, "Hey, you got to try." Now he's a lifelong Jayhawk. We'll hear that story a lot, but a lot going on. Pack the booth Sunday the 28th, homecoming. We've done a great job the last couple home games. This is one of 3 remaining home games in Memorial Stadium.
As we know it.
We're, you drive around campus right now and right there over there in the lot, what is that, 96-ish? There's 4 construction trailers set up, and they've graveled the lots, and there's activity now getting ready because it's an aggressive timeline. December 1st, let's say, we're going to knock that sucker down, and then essentially August 1st, it needs to be up in 25, right? So
that's an aggressive timeline.
But I don't have any reason to believe it's not going to be done. It's going to be perfect. We're going to be on a roll. Going to be winning, no more of this 5-2. We're going to be 7-0 next year and just keep building. Andy Kotelnicki was great. And I mentioned it. He's locked up through 27. So is Coach Leipold on and beyond. And so we've got the infrastructure. We're building around it. Guys are going to keep coming and wanting to come. And we're just in a good place right now. It was a frustrating finish last week against Oklahoma State. Looked like world beaters those first 3 quarters. And then something clicked in that fourth, unfortunately, for Oklahoma State. But I'll leave you with one pretty cool anecdote about Coach K. At this time, this is January 12th of last year. It was Amy's birthday. We're at a place we really enjoy, Culinaria, back on the east side of Lawrence. It's great. Jane and Amy and I are in there having dinner. Andy and his wife are in there. I'd met him. Hey, how you doing, Coach? Now, he doesn't necessarily know me. We talked briefly. Him and his wife leave. I go to pay my bill, and they go, "Oh no, that guy took care of it. He bought our dinner."
Oh, put you on scholarship?
I didn't even have his number. I had to call Coach Leipold and said I need his number to thank him. But it was just a cool thing. It's like he didn't need to do that, and he had just gotten a big raise, so it was the right it was the right thing to do. Lowly athletic department employee like you and me, but again, one of the really, really good guys, and we're really
Great story.
fortunate to have him.
I liked him before that story. That was great. Like even more now.
We just added on. Well, Jayhawker Podcast brought to you by the University of Kansas Health System and the Downtown President Hilton Hotel, Philip Stranad, Power and Light. Get down and see him. Book your rooms December 30th, Wichita State, Big 12 tournament. I'm sure about 50 concerts in between there. It's the best. We'll be there, drum room, brown water, bring in the new year. Why are you laughing at that? You act like you won't be there with me.
One of my favorite sayings. I love that you say that. It's one of my favorites.
Drum room?
No, brown water.
Oh, you like brown water. Well, we know we each like it. So, again, Jayhawker Podcast, University of Kansas Health System, Wayne Simien, Greg Gurley, Rock Chalk.